Vet Alumni Podcast with Tek Prem.
It's the Vet Alumni Podcast. I'm Tek. He's Prem. We're a week away from game day, week 1. Yes, Eagles,
sir.
Packers, Brazil.
Wow.
The 53-man roster is complete. It's mostly what we expected with a couple surprises.
Yeah.
So let's, without any hesitation, get right into it. I know it's been done to death, everybody, every podcast, every, radio show, but we haven't done it.
We haven't done it.
And we do it every year.
Every year, that's all that matters for us.
It's all that matters.
This 53 is, on paper, as talented as pretty much any 53 I can remember, with the exception of the middle of the defense.
Yeah, there's some things here.
There's some things.
All right. Well, we know QB. It's Hurts, Pickett, McKee. I know in a perfect world it would be Hurts, McKee, Pickett, but it is what it is. Running backs. We know it's Barkley, Gainwell, Shipley. We know this. But it is worth mentioning.
Love Shipley. Love the kid Shipley.
Love Shipley. It's worth mentioning that Davis Price is on the practice squad.
Love him too. That kid was hustling. He was hustling. He was playing hard. You can tell he was playing knowing that his mother and all his friends were watching.
Yeah, he was playing like his life depended on it. I really like that.
Yeah, well, that's what preseason is for.
I know.
Guys like that.
That's why I like the preseason.
Booker.
Oh, we'll get to Booker.
I know we'll get to that.
He's tremendous.
I know, man.
He was on my list.
Hustle guy.
We went over on the positives.
Yeah.
I was really hoping he would make the team. And finally, the organization with a guy like him, they did the right thing.
They did the right thing, and that's what you want to see. You want guys that are truly earning spots to get spots.
Right. Wide receiver, sticking with the offense here. We know it's AJ. We know it's Devontae. But beyond those two, it's Dotson, who they traded for.
I like it, man.
I like
Former
it.
first-round pick. You have a rejuvenated vibe.
Brian Mitchell, who covers the
I
Commanders,
know,
he threw cold water on it.
Big time. Big time. Said that he looked dejected.
Yeah, he basically said he questions the kid's toughness and his competitiveness, which is, woo. We'll see.
Brian Mitchell's an all-time great.
Yeah, but here's the deal,
It's
right?
also a skin.
Dotson was drafted in the first round, and he was basically drafted to be their version of Devontae Smith.
He's like their Jalen Reagor.
It didn't pan out for them. He turned out to be their Reagor.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Who's also a free agent now.
Yes. Who knows? Dotson might come here, and all he has to do is be a slot receiver, which, by the way, he's best in the slot.
Single coverage all day long.
He's at his best in the slot.
You're going to be against the nickel of the other squad. You're a first-round pick. That should give you confidence as a guy like Dotson on its face.
He's a speedster. He runs a 4.34.
I like it, man. That's better than Quez. It's better than Quez.
Oh, definitely. And beyond that,
also free agent.
It's Covey.
Yeah, Covey. That kid can play. He's like a little Welker prototype type of guy.
Yeah, he's a little on the smallish side,
yeah.
but who knows?
Hey,
and then there's Johnny Wilson, who's the opposite. He's a bigger guy.
Right. Not going to see the field much.
No,
Special
probably
teams.
not.
Special teams.
It's worth mentioning Anais Smith would have made the roster. He was put on the IR.
Yeah, see, that's
Concussion.
a kid that when we did our draft show, during the draft, I think we were doing the show when he was picked. I was excited about him after watching his college reel.
I thought Smith was actually better than Wilson. I thought he was picked ahead of Wilson, too, wasn't he? I think he was.
Yeah, he was. Wilson was a little bit later.
Well, Wilson emerged a little bit
He did.
in OTAs. And
that's a red zone threat. It might not be this year, but next year, the year after that, that's a red zone threat right there.
Now here's my first surprise, right? And I know it's been said. I read a few articles online about this week. They're going with 2 tight ends, okay?
I saw that.
I think 3 is where I'm comfortable, but they feel like they'll settle with 2 right now. It's Goddard and Calcaterra. I thought E.J. Jenkins did enough to make. You got to throw away that Vikings game. It was nonsense.
Right. That's the last preseason game. Is useless.
He had hands like feet that game. There was one that was right to him. He dropped it.
Yeah, ugly.
So,
ugly.
And look, that's probably why he's on the practice squad now. But
right.
There's a lot of people who said that's hogwash. He wasn't going to make the team anyway. He was going to be a practice squad guy. They were never going to go more than 2 tight ends on this team.
Should have 3 tight ends on a football team.
I think so, too. They brought Jack Stoll back because he got cut.
Well, there you go.
He's on the practice squad.
Yeah, there you go. So if someone goes down, God forbid Goddard or Calcaterra pulls a hammy or whatever, right. Stoll's coming right up.
Yeah.
Because he's already been on the squad before.
Exactly. Now, for me, I think there's a couple surprises here on the O-line. Naturally, it's Becton, it's Dickerson, it's Lane Johnson, it's Cam Jurgens, it's Trevor Keegan. I kind of knew that. Tyler Steen, yes. Jordan Mailata. Here's a couple things. Matt Hennessy is gone. Brett Toth was put on the practice squad. So Fred Johnson makes the team, and Darian Kennard makes the team. Darian Kennard played like every snap in the preseason.
Right.
So I guess they really like what they saw out of him. There's no true backup center, so I think they feel comfortable here with Landon Dickerson backing up.
I think that's fine.
center.
That's a position that he played in college anyway.
And he played a little bit with the Birds, too, and he was kind of drafted to be the heir apparent until they drafted Jurgens.
Yeah, because you can always shuffle that lineup, especially with how Stoutland educates these guys. We always hear that. It's kind of like beating a dead horse, but it's the truth.
Stoutland you.
When you got a guy like Jeff Stoutland calling the shots for that O-line, these guys are kind of prepared to play on different spots on the line.
He coached Becton into the position Becton's playing. He coached Fred Johnson onto the roster.
Yeah,
he really did.
Yeah.
You know,
I really don't worry about the line like I hear some of these local pundits worrying because of Stoutland being there. And then on top of that, a natural equalizer is Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
he just is.
I know. And hopefully you get a healthy Barkley for most of this year.
Man.
But you got Shipley, and I know people should be excited about Shipley.
They should be because he was a value pick. He's going to prove to be, in my opinion, and I loved B. West. He's not the skill set B. West had, but he's going to be as a type of value in the third round B. West was, and he was a fourth round pick. I think it's going to turn out to be similar kind of value.
I think so. I look at Shipley, and I see what he can do even in the passing game, and I'm like, this kid's a threat. He's a weapon.
He has the natural ability. He has that natural flow on the field.
He does. Let's flip to the defense. Start with the D-line, naturally. Jalen Carter, we know that. Davis, we know. We know Ajomo, Tui Pelotu, Milton Williams. And then here we go, Thomas Booker.
I love our depth on the D-line, man. As far as the tackle position, I think I'm
not mad at the D-line.
We have more depth at the tackle position than I think people realize.
I think Ajomo played well.
He plays hard.
I think Tui Pelotu is good.
Yeah. Now, these guys in the interior, they're going to be tough to deal with.
Milton Williams might be a starter on another squad, and he'll be in early in these transitions.
He's definitely flashed in his chances to play as the guy, and sporadically throughout his first couple seasons. Milton Williams has performed at times.
They're going with 6 edge rushers here.
That's the big question. It's edge rusher and linebacker. We really don't know what we're going to get.
Well, so technically now there's 6 linebackers. I'll explain that in a second.
Yeah, there's a crossover with the edge thing.
Now they have 6 edge rushers. They have Brandon Graham. We know that. We know Bryce Huff. Jalix Hunt's a draft pick. And by the way, Jalix Hunt is
he's starting
improving.
on IR, right?
Jalix Hunt?
Isn't he starting on PUP or IR or something like that?
I didn't see that.
No?
Is that true?
I think there's something related to that. Let me hop on the old Google A.
Yep. Nolan Smith, and we know that, and Josh Sweat. Patrick Johnson, who did well. He had a good camp. So, look.
Patrick Johnson is an interesting player to me.
I like Patrick Johnson. He's just primarily been like a special teamer with us. It's now he's listed as a bona fide edge rusher amongst the edge rusher group.
Yeah.
So, hey, it is because
he was drafted, like you said, as a linebacker. I mean, specifically.
Now he's listed as an edge rusher. Now they have 5 linebackers listed, but there is a 6th because one was added due to James Bradbury now missing 6 to 8 weeks.
So here, back to Hunt. So he has an oblique injury. He didn't practice yesterday.
Okay.
Those oblique injuries can linger. I guess they ended up just putting him on the roster. I heard rumblings because of this oblique injury that he was going to be placed on, PUP or something to just keep an extra roster spot.
Not.
But I think they're going to, as of right now, it appears that he's just kind of injured.
Even though you'd really only see Hunt right now this year on special teams.
He's special teamer, but he's going to play hard on special teams, and he's an athletic freak. I mean,
he is.
I think that he could actually be a difference. And think about it. Special teams, the kickoff, I love the kickoff change, personally. I think it's going to give a team more chance to get a return.
I'm iffy about it. I got to see it more. I'm iffy.
It looks really funny.
It looks funny. It looks weird. And for all this talk, I heard all offseason about how this is going to benefit the Eagles and how this is a great. I didn't really see that. I didn't really see this great benefit to the Birds. I think, the Birds having a history of bad tackling, I'm worried about this rule change when it comes to the birds kicking off.
Right.
We have to
totally
kick off these
understand.
games.
That's why you want a guy like J-Lex Hunt on that coverage squad.
Because you make a guy or two miss, it's off to the races. You're going to the house. And I worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I like about it, though, is that teams that have good units, good return units,
well,
look, the new Josh Cribbs of the league could emerge.
Yeah.
And the new Devin Hester could emerge.
And Covey's been good.
I think he's shifty, man.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he looks. He had a good return in preseason.
He's not your kick returner, though. He's not your full-time kick
I don't know who's going to be
returning
the kick
kicks.
returner.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it going to be Isaiah Rodgers? I mean, I don't know.
I'm interested to see what Mr. Sirianni does.
Well,
back there.
Friday night.
That's
in
presumably
Brazil.
what he's actually coaching.
Yeah. Well, he's a CEO.
You know, in his defense, a lot of great coaches won Super Bowls and didn't call any plays.
Well, a lot of guys don't. Tomlin, Harbaugh.
Belichick.
We can go down the list.
Belichick wasn't calling a lot of plays.
Guys who don't call the plays. They don't have one specific area, even though we know his specific area is offense.
True.
And by the way, before we continue here, before we run down the linebackers and continue on from there, Howie goes on the radio, right? And these press conferences. And they ask questions like, what went into the decision of, the defense played starters in all the preseason games, and the offense didn't have any starters on the field. What went into that decision? And Howie gives this nonsensical answer. You know what
It's a pretty obvious answer to me, but go ahead.
Here's the reality is Vic Fangio was not taking this job unless he had absolute power. He had to have say-so on who's going to be making the team on his defensive unit, who's going to be starting in spots on his defensive unit, who's going to be the first man out into the rotations of his defensive unit. He had to have absolute say, and that was the end of it.
Which I agree with.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely.
Just look at what they gave to him.
But this is what Laurie wanted. Because Laurie's like, listen, I'm an offensive-minded guy.
Yeah.
My GM is an offensive-minded guy. Our head coach is an offensive-minded guy. That's where we sit, right? We want to be able to control what the offense is doing.
Right.
We need a guy who's going to come in like Schwartz did and like what's his name? The guy who left.
Jim Johnson.
No. That we went to the Super Bowl with. Who left. Gannon.
Oh, Gannon.
Gannon, right. We need a guy who's going to – but Gannon ran the defense. We need a guy who's going to come in and run that side of the
Fangio needed to know what he had here.
Right. So Fangio comes in, he's like, I got to start different guys. I got to know this week. I got to know if Bond's the guy. I got to know if Devin White's the guy. I got to see these guys
and
on the
makes
field.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, but the offense, Laurie's like, I don't want nobody starting. I don't want nobody starting. We got too much invested in Hurts and Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. We re-upped all these guys. I better not see them set one pinky toe
They're
on that
blue-chip
field.
players. They're blue-chip players.
Right.
So I get it.
He didn't want to see any of these guys. He goes, yeah, you want to put Shipley out there? Fine. Can he not start? You want to put Gainwell out there? He's the backup. Sure.
Throw him out there.
Throw them out there. I don't want to see one starter on offense out there. No, I don't even know. Did Calcaterra did he play
Well, think
at
about
all?
it, right? Think about it, right? Your first preseason game, Jalen Hurts is under center, right? He's taking a snap, and he goes and plants that back foot. Pop.
I get it.
I mean, that could happen.
I'm not saying
that's what Lurie.
right?
That's what Lurie was thinking about. That's what Howie was thinking about.
They got too much invested.
Too much.
He's looking at the money from all the two top receivers, the top running back, the top quarterback, his top O-lineman. He's looking at these guys going, yeah, we don't need to see those guys. Meanwhile, Fangio's like, well, I need to see these guys.
But here's the thing, in my honest opinion about the game of football, and this could be a problem against the Packers. The Packers played some of their starters in the preseason. I know that the joint practices are high speed. I know that when you're playing against talented guys at your practices, which we have talented guys on both sides, that gets you a little more competitive. But there's something to be said about taking the field in week one, already having experienced the game speed on a field with fans in the stands, running your offense, running your plays, coming in like that with at least, even if it's only Jalen Hurts played 7 different snaps on the field with the offense, 8 snaps, whatever. That goes a really long way to being ready for the first week of the season. I thought, and I'm in that camp.
Me too. I thought this whole time, I'm like, I don't think, when I go in and I see Mahomes playing preseason snaps. I'm thinking to myself, Mahomes doesn't need to play
because of what
one
we just said, though.
snap.
It's because of what we just
said. Where
That's why.
I feel like Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback, to be quite honest, that he's got a ton to prove. He ain't walking in like Mahomes. He ain't walking in like Josh Allen. He has to earn the right to not play a snap in the preseason. I don't feel like he did. He took a major step back last year.
I agree completely.
He's the biggest question mark on this whole football team. I look at the team, I'm going through question marks.
I'm going to disagree with you there and say
I think he's the biggest
one.
He's
not the biggest question mark. This guy's on a mission. All reports that this guy's on a mission.
Okay.
The biggest question is the defense.
But that's projection.
The biggest question is the defense.
I also agree with that projection. I project that, yes, he is on a mission. He's going to bounce back, and he's going to be the guy he was in training camp, where he was laser focused and he was just tremendous all camp. He went into like the last practice without throwing an interception.
Yeah, I mean he's really locked in. And now when you upgraded that offense by adding Saquon, that's too understated by people that talk about the Eagles.
No, I get it.
Well, you don't. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to be the Jalen Hurts of 2022 in terms of throwing the ball.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have to. He's gonna be really good. But Saquon Barkley is gonna run for 1,500 yards.
Yes.
Because he's going to get a lot of opportunities. They're going to.
I'll say
Kellen Moore's no dummy.
At least somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200.
Kellen Moore's no dummy. You could come out in the first quarter, second quarter, first half of games to just be super run heavy to make a defense adjust at halftime for the run. Then you come out in the second half and you're airing it down the field to Devontae and AJ because they adjusted for the run. I mean, there's so much you can do as the offensive coordinator with this team.
Well, and a big piece of that, and they undersell it, a lot of people, is the defense. And we'll get back to this roster real quick. But the defense, the year they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, I mean, they had teams trying to get back into games. So it was throw.
Exactly,
and that's why the defense was so good.
You're completely correct.
And last year, it wasn't the case.
No.
We played by behind.
Well, for the first 11
games we won.
Yeah, true.
So, this year, Hurts is going to have to come out, and the offense is going to have to be like butter, and they're just going to have to be putting up points and having teams desperately trying to stay in games by throw, and that way you have great defensive backs now, you hope, and you hope that you got guys that are proven edge rushers that can get to the quarterback. All this helps you in a team that's desperately trying to throw back into a game.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the middle of the defense. I mean, I know that Jordan Davis and Jalen.
So let's talk about that.
Jalen Carter are good, but I'm concerned.
Here's the linebackers they're going with, and there's 5+1. So the 5 are Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Trott Jr., Van Sumeren, Devin White. And because James Bradbury has gone onto IR for 6 to 8 weeks.
I saw that. It doesn't even require surgery.
No. They elevated Oren Burks. I suspect that it's only 5 true linebackers, and this +1 is really a special team situation.
That's probably the weakest group on the roster.
I believe so, yes.
In terms of just depth and talent, talent and depth.
Now, Nakobe Dean has been playing lights out in training camp. But these are just practices.
That's what I'm saying, man. Look, Jordan Love is going to come out, and he's going to be
test those linebackers.
He's going to be attacking them right away.
Right away.
And they're going to be doing them crossing routes, and they're going to be doing the flare
shocked
routes with the
Eagles,
RBs.
This is going to hurt, and it hurts to say. I'm not saying the Eagles lose this game, even though I did predict they do lose this game.
No, I don't think they lose the game, but I think it's tight.
I think that right away, the first series, everyone is going to be pulling out their hair, or like me, what's left of their hair, because that first drive, Green Bay is going to do exactly what you just said, go right down the field, go 7-0, and then everybody's going to be on Twitter going, what's going on?
But here's the wild card.
And I think they'll adjust, by the way.
Yeah, but we didn't get to the secondary, and the wild card is CJGJ. That guy is a wild card.
All right,
because now the turnovers are back into the equation. The defense can be like what you're saying. They say Jordan Love's driving down the field, they're inside the 20. Boom, turnover. This team, I feel like, is going to have more swagger with CJGJ and Saquon Barkley on each side of the ball. Yes. That swagger and that confidence, I think, is going to be the difference and why they're a 12-5 team and not a 10-7 team this year.
So there's 12 D-backs, but 2 of them are on IR. Well, technically, one of them is. That's Bradbury. And Sidney Brown's on the PUP list.
I saw that, yeah.
So hopefully
Sidney comes back strong because I like him.
Right. Me too.
I want to see what he's going to become. He reminds me of, like, not just because of the hair, but he plays recklessly like Palomalu kind of did.
Yeah, yeah.
But once he hones it in a little bit, that works.
It does
when
work.
you play that right, that can work in the NFL.
You got Blankenship, you got DeJean, you got CJGJ, Avonte Maddox, Quinyon Mitchell, Eli Ricks.
Now, conversely, the most depth in a secondary of any position group on the roster.
Yeah.
In my opinion, besides wide receiver, of course.
Right. Ringo, Rogers, Slay. And then here he is. He was on my positive list a couple weeks ago. It's Tristan McCullum. He made
you know
the
what?
roster.
Another one
hard.
like Booker, Fangio did the right thing.
Yep.
Because he was making them calls, let's be honest.
We know it's Elliot Lovato and Braden Mann. The 6th-round pick's worth mentioning. Dylan McMahon, he was cut, but he was signed back to the practice squad.
Okay, ho-hum, I mean.
Yeah, but, 6th-round pick, cut. But, hey, it is what it is. I think they did that to Jacoby Stevens. I think he got cut.
Jacoby Stevens.
Originally, when they drafted him.
Yeah.
But, so that's the roster. And, look, next week, we'll really get the right look at it. And by the way,
31-27 Birds.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's a game day
win.
special for us next week.
Field goal win.
It's going to be the day we drop the day of. It's a game day special with Breland Moore from Fox 29. It's going to be a fantastic show.
It's really exciting.
All right, we'll hit the vet line with our guy Anthony DiRenzo to talk a little Phils. But first, brought to you by the Fairless Hills Academy of Music, it's time for VetPhact.
This is a VetPhact.
Well, it's only fitting that we go to a VetPhact in which the Phillies would host the Atlanta Braves. August 30th, 1982. A game that only took 2 hours and 22 minutes. The Phils would dismiss Atlanta by a score of 6-1. They would lace 13 hits. Ironically, the amount of hits that Taijuan Walker gave up the other day. We won't talk about that guy. May 28th, 1982, it was rescheduled. It was actually a rescheduled rainout, Tech, that they finished on August 30th. The Phils would win 6-1. You had just an all-around effort from the Phils. Schmitty with 3 hits and 2 RBIs, including a triple from Schmitty. Manny Trio with 2 hits and 2 runs scored. Bo Diaz with a double. Gary Maddox with a double. Gary Matthews with a double. You were getting all kinds of support from around the lineup. The Phils 6 for 17 with runners in scoring position. So they were getting it done with runners on base for the most part. And Dick Ruthven goes a full 9 innings. 1 earned run, only 3 hits allowed. He would climb to 10-10 on the season. Of course, 1982, a year where the Phils didn't win any hardware. The next year, we know that they won the National League Championship before losing the World Series to the to the Baltimore Orioles. But this was a game between two top-flight teams in the NL that year. The Braves finished just won 72-58. And the Phils finished just won 73-57. They were neck and neck. Hey, not much has changed in 42 years, Tech, because they're neck and neck. And the Phils, these were the cardiac kids back in the day. But how about the Phils last night coming back from 4 runs down to take a lead?
I mean, yes, you're right about
phenomenal
that.
stuff.
Yes.
Pete Rose, the hit king, was not the hit king on this night, though. No. He was hitless. 0 for 4. Nevertheless, you had a team victory. By the way, great documentary on Pete Rose on Max.
Oh, really?
Worth watching. You got to pop it on.
I will.
Really, really good.
I will.
So there you have it, Tech. A rescheduled rainout that they didn't play any of on May 28th, 82. They played it on August 30th, 1982. The Phils would knock off the Braves 6-1. The Braves get their measly lone run in the 4th, commit an error, and only have 3 hits on a day as the Phils climb to 73-57.
The Phils, Prem, let's stay with them. They took 2-3 in Kansas City, started out the homestand taking 2-3 from Houston. Now, they started a 4-game series last night with the Braves. They came back from being down 4-0. Castellanos, a monster home run to make it
number 19.
5-4 in the 7th.
Huge.
My confidence overall, though, not high. Look, I'm still in wait-and-see mode with the Phils. My heart says they can win this whole damn thing. my head says they may not make it past the NLCS.
I hear you, man.
So-
Look, the Diamondbacks are still their kryptonite.
Yeah, this is wait and see.
See, the
for me.
Dodgers, the Dodgers don't scare me that much. The Brewers, like in a playoff scenario when it's October and the Phils are in playoff mode, playing the Dodgers and the Brewers doesn't scare me. Playing the Braves and the Diamondbacks does.
Right, but hey, the Dodgers are hitting their stride right now. They look like a slightly different team than the Phillies have faced.
They do, and they're getting some guys back. You
Yeah.
know, Betts is going to be back, and that's key.
I am a little concerned. I'm a little
It's all
concerned.
about the pitching. It's all about the pitching, man. If you are
I'm
going
concerned
to,
with the pitching. You know, this walk, now they're moving Walker. It's like, what took so long? It's how many times do you need to see disastrous starts from one guy before you make a decision?
They got to just cut their losses. They lost on the contract. Honestly, it hurts them even having him on the roster still.
Yeah.
I think you got to, if you're going to do anything, just send him down and let him work it out in the minors. I know it's hard to do when you're making $18 million a year.
Moving him to the pen. The guy can give you one good inning.
Maybe, or he could blow the game.
Or it could be disastrous.
Or he could blow the game. I feel like we're seeing a picture, and Larry Anderson said something last week that really caught my attention because this is a guy that went through it. He said, when you lose your belief in your stuff as a pitcher, that is the end of you.
That's the end.
And, you know, it can come back. Guys can go through these things and then get it back, and then their lights out again. I mean,
Sure.
Larry Anderson was one of those.
Yeah, of course.
But Taiwan, I feel like his best pitching is behind him.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, he's a nice guy. Like, you hear him talking, like, you feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
But he's not a winning pitcher.
Nope.
He's a New York Met.
Yeah, he's done.
He's done.
He's done.
He can't be on this roster next year.
No, he can't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. To be honest, I'm in wait and see mode right now with the Phils.
That's fair.
There's not
September's
much
key.
for
They got to
me
go
even-
17-9 in September. You got 26 games in September. Give me 17-9. If they go 17-9, it's not a hard schedule. They have compared to July especially.
But some of these losses, like the 10-0 loss, I mean, it puts me back in Birds mode.
Well, you know what that was? That's psychological. They know Taiwan's going, and already you're down 6-0 in the fourth.
And they're out of it.
That's psychological.
They're out of
it. That game, you knew they were going to lose that game to an extent. But they still won the series, and they won the series from two current AL playoff teams that have been two of the hotter teams in the second half. That says something, and that's recent.
Because they lost all the other hot AL teams.
Right. Well, since the Dodgers.
Right. Since the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. With the other AL teams, right? They lost to the Yankees. They lost to the Orioles, the Twins, the Guardians.
Mariners.
Yeah.
That's
not good.
Oh man.
Mariners aren't scary though.
No. All right. Since we're talking Phils, we'll stay on the Phils. Let's hit the vet line with our guy Anthony DiRenzo next.
Vet Alumni. And now, it's the Vet Line.
Why don't you answer your phone?
Joined now on the Vet Line by Anthony DiRenzo, digital producer for Battleground News, and of course, formerly of 1210 WPHT on Crossing Broad Tech.
Yep.
Anthony, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
sir.
glad to have you back on. It's a great time to have you back on. The Phils gearing up for October, but we'll lead with the Birds.
Okay, yeah.
Starting in Brazil.
Yep.
Now, a week from today in Brazil, what a starting place, Brazil,
Yeah.
for a football game on a Friday night on Peacock of all
Oh
channels.
my God.
Anyhow, what do you think the Birds are going to do? I'll go general this season. Give me a win total, and how are they going to fare against Jordan Love and the Packers?
I think this is a tough opening matchup. The Packers are always a competitive team, but I think they really have kind of come into their own with that young talent finally really getting to mesh and grow together. But at the end of the day, man, and I know the Eagles had, I don't want to call it an epic collapse, but definitely a disappointing finish to the season last year.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, man. I think they've done, and it's Howie Roseman at this point. I mean, I know I produce in news, but he could fix the war in the Middle East. Like what this man does, like I just don't even understand how like the way he's so meticulous and goes through and figures out every offseason where they need to go. The fact that he solidifies the secondary, gets a guy like Saquon. I mean, every single thing that they have done, and you know, obviously losing Kelsey, I think, and I'm not trying to talk down on Kelsey here. He was aging, so I think the offensive line isn't going to necessarily take that step back that some people might think they will.
Yeah, it's good to hear you say that.
I don't want to sound like a homer, but like this Eagles team, I think is ready to take on the world. And I really would be surprised if they don't come out here hot with a win.
By the way, to your Howie point, it's 3 straight years, by the way, that he's entered an off season with no money.
I know, and then magically
within just a week or two, a few weeks, the guy's got money.
It's like Doctor Strange.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. He's a wizard.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know, we're very blessed to have a GM that seems to just understand the loopholes of the business.
Yeah.
You know, and he looks ahead to plan to use those loopholes.
Yes, he looks at every detail. It's amazing.
Exactly. And I mean, even this goes back to, I really think, and not to give us some bad luck here, but this goes back to Chip Kelly. Like, really, I think when the fact that they didn't get rid of him and he was able to really crunch the numbers and be that guy to figure out contracts and like zone in on that to a certain extent that pretty much it seems like no other GM has gotten to.
Yeah.
I think that clearly, like to what you're saying, that's how he pulls this money out of his ass every year. That is the reason and how he does it.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are you looking at on the defense as someone that's going to emerge from the linebacker core? Because we were talking about this earlier, and we feel like that's the weakest position group on the team. I think most Eagles fans and media personalities would agree. Who do you think will emerge from that group and actually perform above expectations?
I don't. This is going to sound like such a homer take, but Trotter Jr., man. Like,
okay.
I just think
I like it.
I think the vibes are there just simply like, and seeing his dad come out onto the field and hearing Howie talk to him and talk to him about like, you know, I knew your mother, like we're so happy to like give you this moment and you've earned it. Like we're not picking you just to pick you. There's just a lot of nostalgia and think like, he's known Howie for how long? Like, it isn't just necessarily like looking back thing. Like, he gave his dad and their family like the life they have.
Right.
And that is, I mean, I just think he will go to war for that man and for Nick Sirianni. I think, especially having a new defense and a new scheme with Fangio, like, I just think he has all of the energy around him to really do what he needs to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A high energy guy. Smart guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's flip to the offense and most notably the wide receivers, okay? They trade for Dotson, who immediately Brian Mitchell threw cold water on it the next day, questioning his toughness, questioning his competitiveness. I maintain the guy was drafted to be their version of Devontae Smith. He ended up being their Jalen Reagor. But if he comes in here, he's great in the slot, and that's where he's just supposed to be. What do you make of the trade, and where do you project him to be within this offense?
I mean, I don't expect him to be this feature guy right away, but I do think the offense is going to utilize him where they can, and that is going to be deep routes, whether they want to admit it or not. I think he's just going to be the fly out. Like, he will always be that fast. That they are going to have their eyes on Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, and he can come out of nowhere just with a deep route through the middle, and that could change the dynamic of the offense because you got to look out for Jalen Hurts. He might run. You got to look out for Saquon. Obviously, A.J. and freaking Devontae are doing their thing every single week. On top of everyone's forgotten about Goddard because of how much talent is on this offense. So
stacked.
I think it just gives it another level of, again, to my point of Howie being able to solve any problem. There wasn't really even a problem there, but that's something the offense was lacking. Now they have that like special tool guy to give them that deep play. And it's not just, you know, the athletic A.J. Brown or typical deep route through the corner with Devontae. Like, now they have pretty much, they can hit you at any angle at any time. And the team's ability to understand that they could even become more dynamic before the season even started, I think it just shows you they're constantly looking to improve. And whether they win or lose, you know, that all at the end of the year, say they don't even win the Super Bowl, I think moves like this and the way that they're proactive like that just proves that the Eagles are one of the smartest organizations right now.
Tek, Anthony gave me an in the moment.
What's
I got
that?
an in the moment for you.
Okay.
Jahan Dotson will catch 5 touchdowns of more than 25 yards this year.
Really?
Yes, he will.
Yeah, I could easily see that.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it makes a lot of sense. He's going to be singled up against nickel every week, and then the safeties can't look at him.
True.
The safeties.
That's true, because not only do you have to respect the two wideouts,
You have to.
Then you have to respect the lead running back.
Yeah.
You have to respect the tight end.
Those safeties, their eyes and their mind are everywhere but Jahan Dotson.
All right. Which leads me to my biggest question mark, and I will ask you if he is your biggest question mark. If not, who is? But I'm going to bring up Jalen Hurts. He's my biggest question mark. This is a prove-it type year for me for him, basically because of that step back he had last year. I project him to bounce back and be laser-focused and to be driven to get back to that MVP, top 5, top 6 level quarterback play.
Sir.
I expect it. I project it, but I expect it. But going in, he is my top question mark. I mean, I have other question marks, the linebacker, sure, the O-line even, but I would say Hurts above all is the guy. Who is he yours? And if he isn't, who is?
I understand why you think he is, and I could go to where you're at in that sense. Like, I could see where you're coming from, but I think I lean more like my biggest question mark is Sirianni. Like, you bring in two brand new coordinators because you don't really trust your head coach.
Right.
That were both head coach. They were both head coach candidates. Like, that's and trust me, I'm the biggest fan of Sirianni. I like how he kind of flipped us off that first year. We all made fun of him with the flower thing, but he really kind of impressed us. I like that. I like seeing the passion when he's crying in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't care. People can make fun of it.
I
don't care.
Yeah.
I like the genuine, authentic passion. I really am rooting for him. But last year, man, I really think all of the complaints around Hurts, they lie within Sirianni refusing to give up control of that offense. I genuinely believe it was stubbornness from Sirianni on how they wanted to run that offense, and that's why it never turned around. And then there was just tension the rest of the season. I really think that's the key of the entire problem. On top of, I mean, again, look at how much deeper they are this season. I just think they've kind of almost filled every single hole. So on top of getting two brilliant minds coaching-wise compared to last year, I'm worried about Sirianni. But again, I think all of the things that they've done to continue to build around him, I mean, honestly, I think all they can do is succeed this year.
Yeah, well, you would sure hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
sure hope so.
you're
if they don't, then he's out for sure. Yeah, obviously.
Agreed. But Kellen Moore is phenomenal, though.
Because
I'm excited about him.
When the year ended, by the way, he was my top question mark. I wanted him gone, Nick Sirianni.
You did.
I wanted him absolutely gone. And the fact that he wasn't was so bewildering to me that you get rid of everybody else, but the guy who orchestrated everything gets to stay. And then and basically gets stripped of his. I mean, he never really controlled the defense. He was an offensive guy. Gets stripped of that, and everything's just supposed to be sunshine and rainbows. I didn't ever think that it would be. Now I like Kellen Moore.
I do too.
I do. And I think
I like
he
his
can
style
fix this.
of play calling.
I think he can fix this offense. But listen, you're right. I mean, look, I think Hurts needs to prove it on the field. But you're right. On the sideline, I think for the as an organization, I think, yes, the top question mark would be Nick Sirianni. I would agree with that. Sirianni and Hurts, for me, are going in like, well, we need to see difference. I need to see it be major difference from last year. That's what I need to see.
So before we wrap up on the Birds, Anthony, I didn't get your win prediction. How many wins do the Birds get this year? I say 12-5. I think Tek is at 11-6 or 12-5.
Well, I got 11 as the floor, 12 as the ceiling.
Okay, I'm kind of the same. Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, not to sound redundant, but I was going to say 12 as well. I just have them. I think they're going to win the division and they'll have 12 wins. I think, it's that off year. The Cowboys won it last year, so the Eagles are locked in this year.
Yeah.
That's really how this division goes. So, moving to the Phils, it's been a mixed bag in the second half. You had a really
to
nice,
say the least,
really nice series
mixed
wins.
Bag.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you have series wins over the two of the hotter AL teams in the second half recently, the Royals and the Astros. You also have horrible Series losses, but baseball's a cumulative sport. 162, break it down into 20-game intervals, and when you do that, most of those intervals look really good. I think the Phils are going to figure out a way to get back to the NLCS. What happens there is anybody's guess, but what do you need to see from them between now and October to say, hey, this team can go to the World Series and win it?
I just need to see the heart again, man. Like, I feel like earlier in this season, we saw them every single night. We could tell that they wanted to win every game. And I don't know how much I've seen that since the All-Star break. A little bit. I mean, definitely not nearly. Like, they just looked ready every single day, and not effortless, but they were just having fun out there. And I don't know what happened at the break. I don't know if they had a little too much fun, if they got a little too unfocused, got a little too cocky, all of those things. That's the bad part of peaking like that before the All-Star break.
Exactly.
But regardless, I do think, and I know people were really panicking there, and I was talking to a lot of my buddies like, oh, it's all over. And, some of my friends who are Dodgers fans or Yankees fans. But regardless, I do think the Phillies are back on track. I mean, as of right now, this series with the Braves isn't perfect, but I think I am seeing that heart again. And I agree. They obviously have the talent to continue to at least get to the NLCS, including this season. I think this is their best season recently. If they do not make it to the World Series this year, it is their own fault. And I would have said the same thing last year. I'm still kind of not over that Arizona series where they just beat themselves essentially. But regardless, with how consistent they've shown they can be, that they could be this season, I just believe that this team will make the World Series. I don't know if they will win it, but I do think that they will make it as long as it looks like their eyes are now on the prize once again, and they're locking in. And that's all we really need, because they have the talent. And as even if some guys slumping, they have enough options, both when it comes to hitting and pitching, that they could lean on someone else. So let's hope that they just lock in again here. And it looks like, I mean, honestly, they're putting it all out there with the Braves right now. So
absolutely. I mean, you saw the heart last night when you get big home runs from Marsh and Casty to come back like that. And, that's what you were just referring to that was kind of missing for a bit.
I would argue, I know it was since the All-Star break, but I would argue the London series threw this whole season off course. And if you're going to do that in the future, do it in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, like a kickoff thing.
Exactly.
Like baseball's back.
But by the way, that was smart for them to do it with the Eagles with football. Start it in Brazil. You go 0-1. All right, big deal. It's 1 week.
Right.
You can bounce back.
Doesn't
You got
matter.
the whole division in front of you, the whole season in front of you. You can just get the tourist stuff out of the way. They went to London. They had fun. They were tourists. They were going to bars. It's like, we can't have that.
Taiwan Walker's last good start.
Yes, in London. And they come back to travel to there and back. It's just some guys went that didn't really even need to go. They didn't play in it. They didn't. I just thought that was a total nonsensical way to throw a season off course for a team, especially like the Phillies, who at that point were peaking. They were at their peak when they went to London. It was just a terrible move. And then they come back from London and they're playing 2 straight road series while the Mets get to play 2 straight home series.
Right.
It was really it was a devastating part for this year, and they never fully recovered from it. And it's like just now we're starting to actually see the Fightins again.
Yeah, they're coming back around. Well, it's that time of year, and I was saying earlier, Anthony, you got to go 17-9 in September. You got 26 games in September. Who do you prefer, if you had to pick? Who do you prefer them seeing in an NLCS? Who would you like their chances most against when it comes down to it?
Oh God,
it's like
that's
a damned
tough.
if you do, damned if you don't, because you're talking about the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Diamondbacks. I'd want to see the Brewers, but you're probably not going to see the Brewers. You're probably going to see the Dodgers or the D-backs. I would rather the Dodgers, but where are you at with that?
I was about to. I think I lean Dodgers, and as scary as they are, I don't know, man. I think it's especially ever since like we were younger, like when the Phillies in 08, 09, 10, 11, like Dodgers were always that like boogeyman, and they were always beatable. Like I just, and I don't know, maybe that's cliche because now I'm going to past
you're not
coaches,
wrong.
but
you're not wrong.
I feel like every single year we hear this rumor of the Dodgers, and every time they just don't show up. Especially, I mean, it can be hard to go out there, but I really think they struggle on the road in a place like Philly. So I would be confident in an NLCS against LA.
Yeah, I think the same thing.
But do you trust the offense to not go cold in October?
They'll beat. Are they going to swing at everything again like last season? Like, my God.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It was terrible, man. I just don't want to play Arizona again, man. I'll be hesitant to.
I don't either.
Watch,
they scare me. I
number.
still have nightmares. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Prem mentioned Taiwan Walker a few minutes ago. I just want to ask you. Let's pretend for a minute you're the manager of this team, right? What took so long to move Walker out of the rotation? I mean, how many disastrous starts would you need to see before enough is enough? You know what I mean?
Took way too long. That took way too long. I mean, we were talking about this like a week after. Like, I believe one of my friends brought that up to me like a week after All-Star break. And it's, what is it? What's today's date? August 29th?
Yeah, right.
Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I just don't understand how it takes that long.
Me neither.
Is that stubbornness from Philly Rob? Like, that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, believing in his guys.
Yes.
Expressing that belief in his guys.
That's Little League Rob. That's Little League stuff.
I
want to
win.
I want to win. I don't care if my guys think I'm loyal to them or I put my trust in them. That's all Little League nonsense. I want to win. I'm trying to win every night.
Win, just win,
That's what
baby.
I'm trying to do at all costs, by the way. You know, the Braves do that. Organizations like the Braves, the Yankees, the Dodgers, they do that stuff. They not this loyalty nonsense. They want to win at all costs. And sometimes Little League Rob, you know, he prefers, I want my guys to know I believe in them. It's like, I don't care.
Well, the Phils
are
are very comparable to the late 70s Phillies, right? The late 70s Phillies, they were sniffing it. Then they finally got there in 1980 by adding Pete Rose. You know, the Phillies this year, they've been sniffing it the last few years, and they add a player like Trey Turner last year, for example, big name, and now they're trying to get back to it. But those Phillies teams in the late 70s, early 80s, they would lose heartbreaking playoff series.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking playoff series. And here we are, heartbreaking playoff series, getting no hit in the World Series. That's the kind of character building that you really need for a team before I think that they get it done. And I believe that this squad, I believe this squad has a chance.
They've built that culture, man. Like, look at Philadelphia as the place to be in October. Like, that's crazy. Like, ask players, what's the scariest place to play in October? If you would have asked me that when I was a kid, no way would it be Citizens Bank or whatever, the Vet. Either way, it wouldn't be. It was always Yankee Stadium or Fenway or Wrigley. Like, the fact that Philly is nuts because this is still a football town. So the fact that the Citizens Bank Park is the place to be in MLB October is, I mean, it's absolutely insane. And just to go off your point of just their hesitancy sometimes, I agree with that. I think they need to be that hard-nosed, like South Philly mentality sometimes. Just like right now, I mean, I know that they're picking up a win here against the Braves. They're going to be good to go. Hopefully continue this moving forward. But the thing is, no more off days. Unless there's a serious injury, until you clinch, no more off days. Every day you are trying to win that division, instill this playoff mentality into this team early. Make sure they understand it, then they get a break, and then they will be set for the playoffs. Like, they really need to be kind of zoned in here and not let all right, well, we got a couple against the Braves, we're good. No.
They
have to have their foot on the pedal.
Exactly. Foot to the floor, man. Anthony, it's been great to catch up with you. What do you got coming up this year?
Yeah, so actually a little news. So any Temple fans out there, I'm going to be hosting a new Temple podcast with the Believe Network. It will be Believe in Temple Football. So I'll be taking you through all their wins, all their losses. Hopefully there's a big W against Oklahoma tomorrow. Nice. I doubt that.
Yes.
But
you never know. You never know.
Yeah, we'll be breaking it down next week, though. I'll keep you guys in the loop. So thanks for having me on, and I'll definitely keep in touch.
Sounds good. There you have it, folks.
Sir.
Anthony DiRenzo on the Vet Line. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Need a better betting app? You need Rhythm.
Rhythm makes it easy to find AI-backed picks and player props for every single NFL, NBA, and game. You can build custom sports betting models or have AI build them for you and start getting recommended bets, score predictions, and more that will help you become a better bettor. Download Rhythm now and start getting free picks daily. Rhythm is the place for data-backed props and picks. RITHMM.
Rhythm is a proud partner of the Vet Alumni Podcast. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's time for Prem's Picks.
These games are a blowout, a human lock.
You can bet your children's unborn children on these games.
Prem's pick. So we took a week off, and we're 1-2. Is that where we're at?
1-2 last week.
Yep.
21-18 overall.
Listen, you're above 500.
Well, let me remind you, Tek, that this is the last episode we're picking baseball this year.
Right. This is it. Football begins.
If I don't go 0-3, I finished with a winning record in baseball picks.
Okay. Yes.
So I can't go 0-3, but I'm going to pick 3 hard ones just because of that.
All right.
All right. First one, Tek. We're going to stay right at the bank, baby. Ranger Suarez taking the mound against that guy Lopez that seems to just dominate us. I don't care. Phil's win in a walk-off on Friday night, City Connect night. Suarez on the mound, 4-3. Phil's win. Take the Phil's money line. Lock. Yes, sir. City Connect night. Good things happen.
City Connect. I'll be wearing my City Connect jersey.
I like it. They actually have a winning record. They have a winning record on City Connect nights.
They do.
If you did not know that.
I actually have become a fan of the City Connect jersey.
Me too. It grew on me.
Grew on me. Yes.
I'm rocking. I'm actually right now. The fans can't see it. I'm rocking the real inspiration for those uniforms. The 1938 uniform.
I see it.
Most people don't realize that they wore yellow and blue the whole year. One season.
Right.
In 1938.
That's the colors of the flag of Pennsylvania.
1938 was it. Yeah. Then they made the yellow P red, and it stayed red forever at that point. Well, until the white P now.
Yes.
But when they switched it in the 80s or whatever it was. Nevertheless, Tek, second pick of the week. 2 teams we've talked about quite a bit on this show. The Dodgers at the D-backs. Battle of the NL West. I'm going right to the most vicious matchups in baseball tonight for these picks. Kershaw on the mound against Zach Gallen in a A1 pitching matchup. Give me the Dodgers on the road.
All right.
In Arizona with Clayton on the mound. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Ohtani has never recorded a hit off of Zach Gallen. He's 0 for 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're going to have to get hits from guys that have good numbers against him, but some of these Dodgers do. Against Zach Gallen, Will Smith, 375 average against Gallen.
Wow.
You got Austin Barnes, catcher, 375 average against Gallen.
Wow.
Miguel Rojas, 500 average against Gallen. But then on the flip side, you know that this Carroll character who we can't stand, Corbin Carroll, he has a 571 clip against Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, Kershaw isn't the same Kershaw.
Peterson, 333. But that's really it, man. Nobody else in the D-backs has good numbers against Kershaw. I like the Dodgers to win a game in a tight game. It's always tight with D-backs, no matter who they play, it feels like.
Yeah.
Both of these clubs, though, 7-3 over the last 10, playing good ball. Give me the Dodgers in a tight one.
Yep.
Money line, lock. Lastly, Tek, I told you I was going to give you 3 tricky games. And I'm going right to the Royals at the Astros. 2 teams that we are very familiar with right now.
Yes.
You got Lugo, Seth Lugo, who's a solid pitcher, going for the Royals at Minute Maid Park against Valdez. I think the Astros get the win, though. The Royals actually have more wins, and they're actually a better baseball team this year. But give me the Astros at home at Minute Maid Park to get the Friday night win. I actually think they win this game comfortably by 3 or more runs.
Wow.
So take the run line. Take the 1.5 run line. And that's a lock. So to recap, Tek, I'm giving you games with all these games involve playoff teams at the season end.
These are tough
all
games.
of them. You got the Phils getting their second straight victory at home against the Braves. You got the Dodgers going to Arizona, a place that we can't stand, to beat the Diamondbacks. And lastly, the team we hate the most, the Houston Astros, hosting the Kansas City Royals, a team that we beat in the World Series, visiting a team that we lost to in the World Series, but the Astros get the win. This has been the final 2024 edition of Prem's MLB Picks.
Woo! And with that, it's a game day special next week. That's when we'll see you. See you.
1 second.
1 second. Yeah.
This is episode 140.
Oh, yeah, 140.
Nice work.
There it is.
And with that,
woo! We will see you next week.
Vet Alumni.